What's happening, YouTube? Anthony on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film with a brand new PRLostGalaxy2014 review. And today we are taking a look and throughout the Thanksgiving weekend, my reviews on all of Super7 Ultimate's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003 figures. So to kick it off, we're starting with Leonardo, who is the leader of the TMNT, as with every other incarnation of the Turtles. And I thought, all right, so here's how I broke down on the TMNT Super7 figures. So here's how I feel about it. So when I got these figures, I got them individually by month, even though the figures were up on pre-order back in June of 2025 on Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, and wherever else you probably got these figures by that point. So for me, I managed to get these figures individually by the month because I didn't want to spend like over $155 on these at once. I decided to go individually because I got money to save for something more important. So I decided to go ahead and just do the Turtles individually by month. July, I managed to get Leonardo. August, I got Raphael. September, I managed to get Michelangelo. And October, last month, Donatello. And then there you go. I managed to get them individually per month instead of just until I got the whole set. So I didn't want to deal with spending too much money. Now, as for my history with this incarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, for someone who was born in the 90s, grew up mostly in the 2000s, I've always loved this incarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the original Turtles cartoon that ran from 1987 to 1996-ish, 95, that was a little before my time. I never really watched an episode of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon series. I'm very aware of how culturally significant that series is for those who grew up during the Turtle Mania years of the franchise from 87 up until like the third Turtles movie, Turtles Back in Time. And then after that, then TMNT Mania was slowly fading and waning. But if it weren't for my all-time favorite franchise, you know, that being Power Rangers, you know, stealing the Turtles' thunder by 1993, 1994, the Turtles had some relevance, but by 1996, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series came to a sad, unfortunate end in 1996. And thus, by 1998, the Ninja Turtles, well, let's face it, the next mutation was, like I mentioned before in my Power Rangers TMNT Lightning Collection review videos, one of them, how much I vehemently despised Next Mutation because it was just a really god-awful live-action turtle show. And yes, their infamous crossover with Power Rangers and Power Rangers in Space. The less I speak of that again, put that where that belongs. And then 5 years later brings a major relaunch going into the 21st century with the 2003 Turtles. And knowing how much I've always loved in this incarnation, particularly during, 2003 and 2004 when this incarnation of the Turtles was at its peak. During my late childhood, going into before I entered puberty when I was a teenager in 2005, 2006, I was all over the action figures that Playmates did for the TMNT 2003 Turtles because, well, they just had a great assortment of action figures, role-play items, vehicles, you name it. And boy, the assortment of toys they had was so awesome. But yeah, I grew up since then. After that, so at some point, I stopped collecting toys for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for a really, really long time. Basically 20 years. 20 years since I last had action figures of the Turtles, particularly the 2003 incarnation featuring that logo and this animated depiction of the Turtles. And I decided, all right, you know what? I'll stick with these for a while, even though they were kind of cool. And throughout its run, I did stood around with this incarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in terms of its airing up until the 2009 30th anniversary, 30 or something, 25th anniversary, film to celebrate the anniversary of the franchise with Turtles Forever. And I remember watching the Turtles Forever made-for-TV crossover movie featuring the 2003 Turtles, the 87 Turtles, and then the Mirage Comics Turtles. And man, that was a well-made crossover for that, and which marked also the entire series finale to the 2003 incarnation and the 4Kids Entertainment incarnation of TMNT. And then after that, I fell out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I did occasionally after the 2003 series and its overall, incarnation wrapped up. By the 2010s, when Nickelodeon would go ahead in 2012 to do a brand new animated incarnation of TMNT, by that point, I wasn't really watching the 2012 Turtle series because by that point, it just definitely wasn't for me. I was just now a grown-ass man by the time that started and when that was going on. Well, at the same time, I was still about Power Rangers, and when that wasn't doing so well, it's funny how life works out. Ninja Turtles was at its peak when Power Rangers was, when Power Rangers came along, Turtles started falling apart, but then here we are at the 2010s. Turtles sort of was peaking a little bit with the 2012 series, and also those god-awful Michael Bay produced Turtles movies, while Power Rangers was devastatingly falling apart during the Neo Saban era. I know, my gripes on that. So, what is to be said about Super 7 doing collectible figures about the 2003 Turtles 20-some years later? Okay, well, I remember having the original action figures, but basically, this is basically my late childhood and the early 2000s all grown up here. So finally having more highly detailed Super 7 Ultimate figures of the Turtles, and I'm happy to finally get around them at last. And for the very first time as a Power Rangers YouTube channel, I have covered the Ninja Turtles on my channel a couple times here and there in the last 13 years of the channel's inception. I mean, there have been a few videos where I've talked about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but yes, the Turtle, as a Power Rangers fan, the Turtles have had some crossovers with Power Rangers, again, in space, and then Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics with them in the TMNT. So like, we can say the Ninja Turtles can be somewhat canon to Power Rangers in some capacity as a Power Rangers channel. Well, I'm also a Turtles fan because, Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles have so much in common. Well, slightly. We'll just put that, where that belongs, erroneously. Long story short, so finally getting around to Super 7 Ultimate Turtles figures. Now, I know people were very anticipating these figures, but there was also some concerns because, like, something going on with Super 7 Ultimates, and also, months before I even got these figures, somebody in the comment section, obviously a troll, was telling me that these are not high-end figures, and blah, 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 blah. Well, fuck her for the stuff she was saying, but I've already blocked her on social media, and blocked her from YouTube, even though if you didn't know who that person was, well, again, fuck her and what she had to say, because I said I was going to get these figures, and I did it back in the summer during my hiatus in the community tab, and I didn't care what the hell that so-called toy collector had to say, because what does she care? I mean, to be honest though, I took a stab at getting these figures and I fucking did it. So to that person who told me these are not high-end figures and Super 7 nowadays suck, that's your opinion, but I'm doing this anyway. So anyway, here's the front of the package for what these Super 7 Ultimate TMNT figure boxes look like. But yeah, they were huge and they were taking up a lot of space in my storage when I got all these other Super 7 and other figures I got to do. So here's Leonardo with all his accessories, including a head. And then on the back features an animation render of what Leonardo 2003 Leo looks like. And yeah, it's very nostalgic. If you're, so bring on that 2000s nostalgia. So with that being said, let's take a look at Leonardo and see what he's got. Man, I love being a Turtle fan. Okay everyone, now that Leo is out of the package, let's go over all of his accessories. First, we take a look at his alternate head where he's like smirking, smiling, sort of like that. Gotta get some light. And I like the way how they really highly detailed this to be very faithful to how it is in the animated series, the 2003 series. And it's very on point because again, I remember having, action figures of the 2003 Turtles where they would smile all like, yeah, we're gonna kick some shell, Shredder, and all that stuff. That's kind of cool that, each of the Turtles also have alternate heads too, because same to be said for like when I get the remaining Super 7 Ultimates figures like Power Rangers, G.I. Joe and the like. But man, this is really incredible that they actually did that. So yeah, I got an alternate head for Leonardo. Now onto his other accessories. His primary weapon being the katana swords, because when you think about it, Leo as the leader has the katana swords while Raphael has those I can't think of the name of they're like daggers. Yeah, those daggers he would use. Then Donatello with the bow staff, and then Michelangelo with the nunchucks. These are all right, attempts at doing this close to how it is in the animated series, because it does have that animated look. And I like the way how they stayed true to, the cartoon aesthetic with the, even I can tell that some of this, the blades to his katana swords are like see-through a little bit. And I think that could be due to the lighting. And I do like the way how the ends of the swords are, in contrast. So, I almost dropped the sword. Then, I don't know about this accessory. I think I recall the Turtles in the 2003... Well, then again, I haven't watched the 2003 series in a long time after it ended. And I'm not sure if they have used this device to some capacity. It looks like a cell phone. Because, again, the 2000s were really hard on cell phones. Like, they were... Before the smartphone, we had cell phones, and yeah, the 2000s were really hitting that cell phone trend and stuff very hard. And I still remember that because singular wireless and all of that, and even before again, before Apple would even create the iPhone in 2007. But man, 2003 cell phones hit different. Of course, all the different interchangeable hands for Leonardo that you can switch from, so do certain posabilities with those hands. But since these are Super 7 figures, Super 7 figures are very fragile compared to your usual grade action figures, so I gotta be very careful with the articulation points on these characters. So now you got Leonardo, and here's a standard head with him just smiling, not showing the teeth. I like the way how they did the shell and the body and everything, the mask and the color of it, because Leonardo is supposed to have a much brighter blue color to him. And well, for that being said, it's very faithful to how he looked in the series. Now, if you want to see how his head looks, I think we gotta be careful taking this head off so we can put on the alternate head, where make it look like he's like smirking, like he's about to kick some, shell literally, TMNT logic and talk. Yeah, I know. And here's Leo with the other head on. I was about to put on the ball joint, but I'm scared about this ball joint. So that's the thing with these collector figures. I'm scared. And also the neck can move too, so I've noticed that. And the ball joint is a little like it's not trying to accept this alternate head, because I like this alternate head. It takes me back to the figures I had of the Turtles back when I was like 10, 11 years old. Okay, let me try to pop the head on the joint, but it seems like it doesn't want to do it for me. Oh, okay, got it. So after 2 minutes of struggling, I managed to put the head on and make it look like he's smiling, like he's about to kick some ass. So you got that face and that head right there. So put the other head away, and now let's take a look at Leonardo with the head on, this other head where his mouth is showing. So you got this, so we got him standing and posing, and this is how you're going to put the his katana swords in the back like usual, because he's always like that. He always has swords. Here's his katana swords right into the holster, his back holster on the shell, in case he wants to pull the swords out and ready to fight somebody like Foot Clan ninjas. So there you have it. So now let's take a look at articulation for Leonardo, and let me see how I feel about this figure, and wait until when I do his brothers. So his head turns around all the way, even though this head was kind of hard to put on, but I managed to put it on though. Then as for elbow crunch, I don't know if there's any elbow crunches on him that I can see if it can be, well, but I know that this arm can do the elbow crunch. Okay, you got an elbow crunch for Leo here. Yeah, these figures are kind of hard though. They're like, they've been moving a little hard, but I think that the more I toy around with the joints, they won't be so stiff. And then put the other sword in the other hand, and they can go in just great. And then as for elbow crunch on this arm, I had problems with the I had an issue with elbow crunch on this arm earlier, but let me see if I can get it now. I guess this is as far as his right elbow will go, unfortunately. But then as for his leg movement, he can move his legs up and down. Knee crunch though, I don't know about the knee crunch ability for this for him. Same go for the others. Now I know for a fact he does in fact have a bendable knee on this joint, but I'm having problems because I know for a fact I have to figure a way to get that knee on the right leg to bend, but I'm scared to break his leg. I don't want to do that. That's it. So there you go. So here is Leonardo, ready and battle ready. Wait until when I get the other turtles out of their boxes. So yeah, Leonardo is good for the most part, as far as I can tell. So he ain't that bad. I'm trying to stand him well because you know how on this background some of my figures are not standing very well. I think gotta have his bend his leg to be straight. But yeah, but these figures, and also I've noticed, you know, for the figures, they are, you know, their legs are just going this way and tilting, throwing back a little bit to some of the Playmate figures, but you know, Playmates Toys figures of the Turtles I had back in the day. I had all of my 2003 Turtles, but I gave them away years ago or recently, I don't know. But when I was getting rid of old stuff that I didn't need anymore, I did throw away some. I did gave away some of my old TMNT figures that I had, particularly from this incarnation of the Turtles, and that's as far as I had. Okay, well, I'll just have Leo standing like this for now. So, in last thoughts for Leo, he's a good figure. Wait until I take a look at the other ones, and you know his posability is a little tough, but you know I think the more I toy around with him later on after this, as of this recording and this video, he'll probably play a little better. But it's just some joints of him is a little, you know, tough to move around and everything. So tune in when I talk about Raphael.